Roll call, please, Melissa.
Steve Brenner.
Here.
John Woodward.
Here.
Fred Mogul.
Here.
Jen Marner. Here. And Bill Jones.
Here. Is there any public comment?
Yes, I want to say 2 words about that island at the corner of Penn and Wyomissing Boulevard, the white thing, I don't know. My concern lies, first of all, that I have not heard that to have been approved. I've pretty much been at all the meetings. I don't know how this was approved. I don't know what you think about it, but I think it's ugly. If you like it, fine. I think we had, I understand the reason was that we couldn't put flowers, we couldn't put stuff, I don't know. There are many other options before throwing asphalt on it and painting it white. So, again, Liriope, or whatever you want to pronounce that, or there's so many other plants that are drought resistant. And generally, when plants don't grow, it means that's bad soil. So maybe all we had to do is take a few scoops out, and because usually builders just throw garbage over there and then put 2 inches of topsoil, but that's not gonna grow much. So I think there are other ways. Worst scenario, put some decorative stone. Walmart and other people who are trying to cut down on maintenance use that. That can be reused if later on we come up with some other idea. They're multicolor, they're white, they're brown, they're what have you. So that's my main concern. I saw this was on the agenda, if I'm not mistaken. I hope we find a better solution. It's really at the entrance of Wyomissing, and it's really ugly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing none. 1725 Dauphin Avenue.
Chris, Jim and I have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning with the property owner and his attorney. So we are hoping to all get on the same page that we can finally move forward, resolve that issue, and take it off the agenda.
Can I say one thing, in that when you read that, or when the violation, which was part of the agenda or the minutes, said that their attorney was Cornerstone and mentioned an attorney by name, why in the other notice of violations when attorneys have been contacted, why aren't their attorneys named? Is there any reason for that? I think that would be more consistent.
I think primarily because this was an NOV that was actually coming before the committee for an appeal hearing. That is extremely unusual.
Okay. There are references to contacts with attorneys. Why aren't they named in other instances besides 1725?
Are you talking about in craft code? My guess is that's just how it's input.
Are you talking in this? That could just be because I entered most of the stuff. And I tend to be a little bit more verbose than most of these other entries.
I mean, is it a good idea? You mentioned it one place, you mentioned all places. I'd like to know, to tell you the truth.
Is that something you?
I don't.
It's not a big deal.
I don't think it's.
The committee doesn't want it.
I can pass that on.
I don't care. Consistency is always better than inconsistency.
Thank you.
Okay. On to the zoning codes report.
An update on the first page, the district justice payment list hadn't been received when I put the report together, and since then we did receive it. There was exactly $500 paid for the local ordinance, so I need to do some digging to figure out what specifically that was for, but somebody paid a fine. Outside of that, Jenna, I know you had a bunch of questions, I can address that later. Does anybody have any specific questions on the report?
I hear the feral cat situation is back on.
We, I think, have a new one.
There's a new one at another place, but I thought her name came up again too.
Yeah, her name will consistently continue to come back.
No, she's Garfield hot dog.
Yes.
Well, that was,
Oh,
yeah.
well, that's for the new situation.
That's the new
Yes,
situation.
But
Well,
yeah,
but
Dolphins.
there's also Dauphin, but what I found weird is that in the police blotter, it mentioned a meeting with ARL, but that was not in that codes report. And perhaps I was wrong in thinking that there was only one property on Dauphin, which is problematic, but it could be one.
Yeah, Dauphin, it just says the property is reverted back to its previous issue for the
But I
cats.
really thought the police blotter had a visit to ARL, maybe even the gas pump.
I think some of that depends on the date. I mean, to answer one of your questions, Kraft runs their report for the month. So like this report is August 1st through August 30th.
That's all.
So when speaking about the cat situation or dogs or squirrels, as a former person wanted to deal with, remember that?
Is that no longer a person?
I was hoping you were joking, but I don't know. I do think at some point we gotta put something out to the public and just blast this. It's popping up. I'm not saying any specific names, not even saying specific areas, but we have had now 2 or 3 different instances of feral cat or cats running loose throughout the neighborhood. And I don't care if it pops up on the boulevard or if it pops up on Oley Street or if it pops up on Grandview Boulevard. I don't really care. It can't happen. So I think we need to start alerting the public that if it's gonna happen, we're gonna start taking a little bit more detailed action as much as we can within the laws. I think we need to make it, I think we might as well kill it, no pun intended, before it becomes a issue at 5 or 6 other more spots.
We can work on putting some language together to, I mean, the website's probably the best place to put it. It's too late to do it in the newsletter, and we would be tied to the amount of space we could tie up in the newsletter anyway.
Yeah.
The latest instance happened, I guess the T-Bowls down on Logan had taken a kitten over to the Animal Rescue League. And they said, you know, we don't want this, we found it, it was in our backyard, actually caught it in their groundhog life trap. And they said, well, we have to give this back to you and we'll do what we do and then we'll deliver it back to your house. And they said, we're going away for a couple of weeks, so give it back to us. I don't know what the end result was, but I saw this damn thing go across my deck yesterday. So it's back in the neighborhood.
That's the end result.
That's yes.
Yeah, I think it's just becoming a problem in too many spots. It's not just one where we started with this. It's now turning into 3 or 4.
Yeah.
We gotta find a way to be a little more proactive and push out there that this isn't gonna be tolerated. And if we have to start finding people the best we can, I know it's hard to do, but if we have to start pushing it to protect the rest of the community, I think it's something we need to do. Just one person's opinion.
I agree.
Anything else on the enforcement activity here that's going on that we need to discuss?
Not unless anybody had specific questions.
Touch on,
If in the future you'd be more specific about, if there's a zoning hearing board decision down my street, there was the verbal decision, but the report doesn't reflect when the written decision was issued. The report does say there's a 60-day to comply, but, and without those dates, it's hard to tell whether we're getting the transcript promptly, the written decision promptly, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I can guarantee you the written decision's going out within 45 days, but 90% of the time it is the 44th day. That specific decision, I'd have to go back and look, but I can tell you it has been issued.
If you could include that, if we're talking about verbal, then I think we include it.
Actually, Judy, you had a good point. I do want to give an update. on the Berkshire Mall. The mall was not willing to voluntarily sign the consent to let us go in and do the air quality testing, so Wednesday morning, Chief Holmes is going to be meeting Jeff Hogue at Judge Taylor's office to apply for the search warrant. SSM is going to be meeting them both at the Berkshire Mall at 10 a.m. to put the equipment in, do the testing, get everything, get out.
Those two good for true.
So we're talking Berkshire Mall, it's kind of on point, but not on, exactly on point. How about, were the Sears property sold to someone else?
No, because you can't sell a portion of a 50-acre property without subdividing it, which they have not done. It's the whole kit and caboodle or nothing.
Gotcha.
It is under agreement. The entire property is under agreement.
We know with whom?
Modus.
Who might that be?
It's effectively Metropolitan Management Group.
Gotcha.
Okay. Anything else for the codes report? Or the zoning report? Hearing none, on Fifth and Fourth and Oley pump station. Anything new?
We'll only be upgrading Fourth and Oley because the agreement the borough executed with the end at Reading is that any of the upgrades for Wynwood will occur when they go to phase 2. And Fourth and Oley will be designed without their future improvements as they requested, and they will be on the hook for 100% of the upgrades required at the time they do any additional the redevelopment over there other than buildings D and E, which are now 1,000, 2,000. They'll be on the hook to upgrade Fourth and Oley and Wynwood.
All right.
And then we're just, now we have to redesign and price the pump station without them so that the agreements for the other users can have a dollar figure and then execute them before we go ahead and do the full design permitting.
So we're getting close to that.
We probably have about 45 days left on getting the redesign done and the cost to Chris to get to the developers.
Sorry, give me a second. Okay. All right, anything else on the Fourth and Oley pump station?
Yeah, there's kind of a question I should probably ask. I've gotten a couple of phone calls from our friends, the Hugheses, that are working on that property next to Drexel, which we're familiar with. Is this pump station the only thing outstanding that needs to be addressed for purposes of the planning commission meeting coming up?
For them?
I'm sorry?
For Boiler House specifically?
Yeah.
No.
Are there many things?
Yes.
They were trying to figure out what they were so that they can come prepared.
We're meeting with them on Wednesday. Chris, Jim, and I are meeting with them Wednesday morning.
All right, good. So by Wednesday morning, they'll know what they need to do by.
They already know what they need to do. All they have to do is read the review letter.
All right, I'll make sure to tell them.
Should. Okay, anything else? Hearing none, Western Berks Water Authority,
Nothing new to report this time.
you're making it easy today, Chris.
I try.
Do we know when we're gonna hear anything about budget numbers?
We're gonna be discussing it again next month. There's still things in flux. Union negotiations are happening next week, I think, and it sounds like they might be asking for more than we anticipated, so that's gonna have a little bit of an impact as well.
Okay. Sanitary sewer, Berkshire Boulevard Pump Station Project,
It's still ongoing. There's a payment application number 5 that needs.
okay. So we need to make a, motion to approve the recommending of payment, payment application number 5 to PSI Pumping Solutions for $155,785.77. I'm assuming this is still on budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then I'll go ahead and make that recommendation. Second. We have a motion to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Give me 1 second. Excuse me. I think. West Lawn Interceptor, anything we discussed there?
We made a submission of the MPS permit to the Conservation District, got some review comments Friday, we'll address and resubmit.
So, Mr. Boucher would say, progress?
Yes.
Got it. Wyomissing Creek Interceptor for the Spring Township piece.
Work is progressing there. For those of you who use Old Mill Road there by the pool, it is gonna be closed both directions starting tomorrow and into next week from Evans Avenue to Parkside Drive South. Cause that's one section where they gotta run the new pipe down the road.
Does that include close to walkers?
I can't really answer that. You probably should try to avoid walking around there.
You might wanna put word out, cause there are kids who walk to school on that.
The school is aware of it. On our social media.
And I assume emergency services are aware.
Yes, police and fire are aware. It'll be opened up in the evening, but we're still in construction.
Evening being what, 4,
What time do they start construction in the morning?
I would say they'd have it shut down by 7 would be my guess. They work 10 hours, they work 4 10s.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay. CCTV cleaning and repairs. We have a motion. Anything else that needs to be added besides that?
No.
Okay, so there's a payment application number 3 to Sewer Specialty Services, and for $94,868.30. Need a motion to approve, deny, or table it.
So moved.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
A motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Woodland Road, where is it? Woodland Road Sewer, payment application, number 1, in the amount of $259,440.63 to Wexcon Inc. Need someone to either approve, deny, or table, recommending that the council. So moved. Second. Motion is second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Any comments on that, Jim?
That project went extremely well. There was not a hiccup to be had. I think it took a week shorter than what they even anticipated. The final work's being done today where they're lining, they put 4 new manholes in, they're getting liners in them today. But, that was a great project, went well.
Under budget?
At budget.
Okay.
But speaking
That means
of
it went
budget,
okay.
I don't know where you want me to put this in the meeting, it wasn't really on the agenda. With the budget process, I have kind of a 5-minute show and tell on all the capital sewer, options for next year, water, sewer, streets. Do you wanna do that at the end, do you wanna do it now, just to give the committee a general overview?
It's not on the agenda, I don't know whether we can do it.
There's no action needed, I can wait till next month, but,
I wonder where you're going with that one, so. I just didn't.
it's just a very brief overview of what's being proposed for next year.
Is it something you can send out in writing that the committee can look at before next meeting?
Yeah, I have it, I can send everybody what I was going to project on the screen, that's fine.
Would you like that?
Yeah, that's great.
All right.
Fine, handy, because at some point we're gonna start to find
Right.
the budget
Yeah.
discussions. Good. All right. Streets. Anything new here?
I have to go out and check, but the last punch list item was reseeding some of the handicap ramps. I saw that there was some of that work done, but, that job is basically complete. We'll still receive another payment application yet, but,
For the seven, and still construction masters we're talking about, the
Yes.
792.
Yes.
All right.
Well, it's just retainers at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments on the PennDOT that's gonna be on here forever? For State Hill Road? Okay, nothing new there. 50/50 sidewalk project, it was awarded to LB Construction, LB Construction
We're just
Enterprises.
waiting for them to start.
Okay.
So one thing we do need to at least get you to start thinking about is Kraft started enforcement of the borough sidewalk ordinance over the summer. A lot of people that have received those letters have reached out asking if they can wait to fix their sidewalk until next year's 50/50 program opens, which raised kind of a question for Jim and I of, going back to when the 50/50 program started in 2015, the intent was we're gonna do this for 5 years to give people time to voluntarily comply, and then on the other side of that, we're gonna start enforcement. COVID happened, we actually have now been running the program for almost 9 years.
Yep.
So the question is, are we even going to do it next year? And if we are, what do we think about allowing people who got enforcement notices to participate?
And I assume all the notices that were the ones that we got in this report, right?
That were issued up through August 30th, I mean,
More coming.
yeah.
How much do we spend?
I was gonna say, how much did we spend, what was our budgeted number, I don't have that.
Usually around 70 something.
So my recommendation, just simply put, would be to say, we have 70 grand available, it might not be a 50/50, it might be a 60/40. But they've had all these years to be able to conform to it. We've had 9 years, we've extended it 3 times, I think, 4 times, something like that.
Well,
The only, it's not an issue, but the factor there is when we do the 50/50, we go out and market, we hire a contractor, pay the contractor and bill the resident. Here, the way it's set up now is they're fixing it with their own contractor. So there'd have to be some discussion on how the physical work actually gets done.
Well, if everybody who got a letter right now that we've seen, would that burn through the $50,000 pretty quickly? Because it's $1,000 maximum per person, correct?
Correct.
So, how many was that? I didn't
Oh,
count.
yeah, we'd be, if, for the notices that were recently handed out outside of the program, yeah, we'd be over that budget.
So the maximum would be a 50/50 up to $1,000, right? Is that right, or is it $500? I think?
No,
No,
it's 1,000.
Okay.
The percentage of these violations, how many of them are because of our street trees?
Well, and that's
A
another,
lot of them.
Yeah.
90%.
90% of them are because of our street trees.
99%.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
on
no,
the other
no.
hand, they've been ignoring the problem for almost a decade, and it's a hazard to pedestrians.
True, but I just feel like maybe we should continue the program. Consider it.
So
I have no problem continuing the program,
No,
I just
that's not
don't,
the
I don't
issue.
want, now that everybody's waited until they finally got a notice to
Right.
fix it, now we're gonna have 1 million people, that's a lie. We're
Well,
gonna
and
have,
that's gonna affect our quote for this year, our bid.
This,
well,
what-
we already
this
bid
is for
this year,
next
we're done
year.
for
Yeah.
this year.
this is next year
Yeah.
This will
already.
be 25's bid.
Yeah, but for stuff that was bid for this year,
They're already in, whoever
It's too
is
late.
part of this year
okay,
is
so they
already
can't,
done.
No.
they
No.
can't
No, we'd
do
have to
for
rebid
next
it.
year.
yeah, they can't jump on it.
It's too late.
Fine.
Plus your notices, one lady I remember was asking for an extension to give until next March. If they get to participate in the 50/50 program, then it'll be delayed until probably next October. So there are other consequences beyond the financial. Now, you could say we've waited 9 years plus another 6 months, but
And then it just keeps going and going and going, so. Well,
And if they apply to, there's not gonna be enough slots for 50/50 to cover all the notices you're gonna send out.
Well,
it's always-
it's always gonna keep going and going and going, because it's not because the people that live there are wrecking their sidewalk, because the trees are popping up everywhere, so it's always gonna be a problem.
well, I think it, for the good of the group, I think we should continue the 50/50 program. It's a budgeted item, we can figure that out within the budget, but do we wanna cap it to a certain number, which, did we always cap that before?
It's always been up to $1,000.
Yes, yeah.
We've
I know,
never
but
capped
is
it,
there
we've
been a
never
cap
capped
on
the
the number of them?
participants. No, it's always been, for some reason, it's always consistent between 30 and 45 applicants
I
annually.
think this will see a blip quickly.
I would think so if word gets out that this is going on, yes, it'll probably increase a little bit, be my guess.
Wasn't it low this year?
Yeah,
This year was low, yes.
How did 35 applicants at 1,000 per get to 70,000?
Cause some, let me think that through, because of the price of the concrete.
Yeah, it's a total.
Some of them might have $5,000 worth of concrete,
Yeah.
and we reimburse 1,000.
Yeah, yeah.
No, when I got mine done, it was like $4,000, and I got 1,000 from the borough. The other 3,000 was what I paid, or some sort of number like that, 6 years ago.
Well, how will this affect your other budget requests?
It's not gonna look great.
Is it open the door for us to talk about it?
Well, I was gonna say, Jim, do you wanna add on to that?
Yeah, this lady got a violation notice, this is on Monroe Avenue. And, I haven't gone back and researched it, but there's 3 panels that are raised. I'm going to assume she was probably maybe the first or second year of the sidewalk program. And those 3 panels are newer panels that I'm assuming got replaced early on in the 50/50 sidewalk, and now they're moving again.
And it's happening down here too, and there's actually a third spot. I took this picture, so it's behind where we were.
Yeah, it's a massive oak tree. And the
It's
question.
dangerous, it's the beginning of my walk.
And the question, I guess, is, do we want to remove trees? And it's a slippery slope. If she has to pay for that, she's gonna say, heck, in 3-4 years, it's gonna move again. And I don't doubt her.
Did they do the roots and all that stuff when they did it the last time?
Whenever we do the 50/50 sidewalk program, the contractor and our tree department work together. I'm sure some roots were cut or ground when they put that in. But the tree is stronger than the concrete.
The plates that you put in on the curb side, can you do same thing in like on the?
No,
sidewalk
because
side?
you'd have to slice roots, and that would not be good. But we do try to do a half moon. We have to keep the sidewalk at least 36 inches wide, but if we can half moon around the tree, we do that.
At what point do we get to where the roots, you dug up so many roots, that the tree has to come down?
That's what I'm driving at here. If we lifted that concrete, grounded roots a second time, I'd say that tree should probably come down. Can only take so much abuse. And it's like I say, that's a massive tree. That's a
Is it healthy?
$3,000 or $4,000 removal
I
there.
guess if it's growing that fast, it's still healthy.
Yeah, it's a nice tree. Beautiful. But it's big. And Mark, we never used to take healthy trees down, but Mark McLaughlin, who's since retired, started a few years back saying this tree is just too big for its space, and we're gonna remove it, not because it's in decline, but because it's just too massive.
It has to be a street tree.
Yeah.
We looked, was it the 1500 block of Delaware?
Dolphin.
Where, I mean, we were on the north side of Dauphin. If you looked across the street to the planting strip on the south side, it was half the width of what the north side was. So I mean, there's that issue too, that the planting strips weren't all created the same width in certain locations, and now you have trees crammed into even smaller spots.
Well, I think if we can say that you've replaced your sidewalk in the last 10 years and now you have to replace it again due to the fact that the tree is still growing, at least we have some kind of, because otherwise everybody's gonna call and say, take our tree down. We don't have the money to do it. There's a lot of trees out there.
Can you patch and put like a slope to level it out? Or no, is that not
One
gonna
thing
be-
we did this one year but had very few takers. We gave people in the sidewalk program an option. And the option was to put it back in concrete or paving stones. That way, 2 or 3 years later, if they move, you can take up the stones and put them back down. It's not forever.
Where's one of those?
There's one on the 1600 block of Garfield. There's only 2 or 3 people that took advantage of it. And we did a section just to experiment on Lynn Avenue at the Happy Hollow Playground. If you walk that sidewalk, you'll see a couple blocks that are in paving stone and not in concrete. But I think it's in the ordinance, we're allowed to do it. We went through that process back then. But in this situation, if we really wanted to keep the tree, we'd say you have this option of paving stone. And at least that way in the future, if it becomes a tripping hazard, you can do it yourself. You wouldn't need us or a contractor, and you could lift it up and put it back down. I'm not being funny, but I'll just ask the question anyway. Is there an option to, if the sidewalk comes up, to move the sidewalk partially onto their property to go around it? If they give you an easement to just go around it?
Might already
I
have.
remember debating that in the past. We'd be on private, it'd be a public sidewalk on private property. Right, but that's why I asked. Yeah.
Depending on where the right of way ends.
On most of these streets, it's like right, the right of way would be right there.
Right.
Jim's idea.
Yeah, can't you just sort of ramp it off and,
Yeah, put a wedge.
Yeah.
essentially, concrete wedge.
so that it's not a tripping hazard? I mean, it's still not level, but.
You see them all over.
We've always told, if people wanted to, if people would call me and say, can I put one of those in, a concrete wedge, I'd say, sure, it's better than nothing.
They all break up.
Is it gonna pass
But
code
if you're
though?
going to do the 50-50 sidewalk program, that was not an option, it was full replacement.
Well, you're shaking your, would it pass code if you put this cement wedge in?
No.
So they'd still get sued if someone tripped and fell. Okay, so the question is, do we want to continue the 50-50? I think we have a consensus that we do want to do that. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Do we want to put a cap on the number of participants so that we can put some kind of cap on our budget?
If you're giving them each 1,000, shouldn't it be set, can you do up to 70 people? You said 70,000.
I still don't understand why you said you only did
What's that?
35.
That's all that applies.
That's all people apply.
I understand what you're saying, I have to,
Our total expenditure has been
Oh,
around
70,000 is for the
70,000.
whole,
Not the share paid for by.
If some people don't get a full $1,000, their
Right.
project,
Yeah.
their
Only
Yeah.
project
Two
might not be $500, they get
Well,
$250.
this year we had
Right.
18 people for the 70,000. Was there 18?
no, it's more than 18,
But it's not 70.
it's not 70.
Right.
So where's the balance of that money?
They have to reimburse the borough the difference.
No, he's
I
saying
get
where's
that.
the balance of the, if we budgeted 75 and we had, say, 20 people, that at max would be $20,000.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Where's the rest?
it's still sitting in the budget line item.
Yeah, it's the same as the
There's one
curbs
part
on
of
the
the
street
budget, John,
program.
that's not over, that hasn't been taken too much out of yet.
That's the same way we did curbs in the street
Yeah,
program.
so that's the answer, John, we budget 70, do we use it all the time?
No.
Right, gotcha.
So we budgeted 70,
so we could cap it at
Past.
70 participants.
just keep it budgeted the same number that we had it the previous year.
And what happens with the people that got violation notices this year? Do
How
we
many
call
got?
them?
How many we got? Is it over 70
We
people?
want the sidewalks fixed, it's an economic incentive to do so.
Not that they could get onto this year's program, but could we say hold off and sign up for this program
Yeah, inspections on property.
early 2025?
Unless we wanna go out at these people and say, hey, we have all these problems, we're gonna go out and get a contractor to list all the things, once we get a list of everybody in the borough who need it done, and get a contractor to give us the best price possible and not count it as a 50-50 project.
Somebody pulls the building.
Have one contractor bid on the entire, every piece of sidewalk that we need done. Okay, or do
You
it in
ever walk
sections,
around town?
okay, yeah, so do it in sections of the borough at a time, I get it, you're right, but you get it, we'll do it in sections of the borough, starting with the ones that have the biggest trees.
There's a lot of lawsuits.
Why is it a lot of lawsuits?
Did that to everybody in the borough, some.
I didn't say we had to do it, they could pay the fine if they don't wanna do it.
Let's give them an option, hey, one way or the other, your sidewalk is getting repaired next year. Either you do it through our 50/50 program,
But if we don't have enough money in the 50/50 program, we can't offer that.
We won't do all of it.
We won't have that much money, there's gonna be hundreds of people that are gonna get a letter.
For now, I mean, having the conversation with Kraft and based off the number of notices they sent out to date and the kind of influx of phone calls we were getting, their office was getting, we effectively said, okay, let's pause for the moment. One,
This is a perfect example of a way that we can educate the borough on what's coming, because we gotta get this stuff fixed.
Yeah.
I've been hearing about this since I first joined council.
And it's never, people 10 generations out are gonna hear it, because
but just to
we cut down trees, we plant trees, we install sidewalk, and it'll go on forever. It's not gonna ever be done.
So has this person who did it 9 years ago, have they been cited, like, or do they have to do it again now?
No one's gonna say.
They got an
Well,
enforcement.
they got it,
No.
it's warrant, right, they got
It's
the
not
NOV.
cited, but yeah.
They got, right, they got the NOV, so,
Yeah.
and they can't participate in the program again.
They've been, this is what she's been told. I told her because of the tree, I said, we were gonna discuss this. And I agree with her complaint that I've already done what I can. I can't help the tree keeps pushing. I said, just hold off, or I said, we're gonna discuss it. At this point in time, the 50/50 sidewalk program, we didn't think as administration that we were gonna continue it. But now if we're saying we're gonna continue it, we should probably go back to these people and say, we are going to continue it. You need to sign up for the 2025 version of this.
Are the
And we're not
paving-
gonna fine you if you don't get it done prior to that.
Are the paving stones more expensive?
It's gonna depend when you bid them.
Probably not. Probably not. If I were to guess, I'd say paving stones would be cheaper.
I would think they'd be cheaper too.
I don't see,
We
where
could
the
specify-
pavers
we
going
could
for?
specify that.
Instead of putting
Next-
the actual
next year's
sidewalk
program,
panel in,
next
we
program,
give them the
paving
option to
stones.
do paving stones, so if a root pops up one stone, you can just put the stone back versus it's popping up a whole panel like this, and
I
you
think
have
we
to replace the whole
specified a
panel.
certain color, and it had to be brick shape and a tan or certain color.
Yeah.
That was the specification.
How
Yeah.
big are
Hey,
each of the
That's
stones?
gonna be more than concrete.
Think so?
Jim,
How big are each of the pavings?
From my recollection, the specification was they had to be a certain color, like a tan or gray, and they had to be brick shaped.
Yeah.
A standard rate.
I thought Jim meant, I think he meant bigger paver stones. That's more expensive than sidewalk.
That doesn't sound like it could be.
3 times.
Oh,
3 times the
so
cost
3
for
times
the
more expensive.
sidewalk.
Okay. It's a bad idea.
I think maybe you're putting a big stepping
I
stone.
don't know if we're gonna fix
Four
the
by
problem
four,
today,
four by
because there's nothing we can do for the 50/50 project going forward next year, but I think it's something we need to talk about.
But I think he needs to know what to tell people and want to know what their deadline is.
Well, the deadline hasn't, the application process hasn't opened yet.
They got
And
a
he
violation
sent
on
out
it.
letters to people saying they need
Oh.
to. So do we give them until next October, for example?
well, I mean, so the program typically opens in March, they would need to apply in April,
Let me ask you
and
this, can we figure out how much money we have left on, because we're gonna, no matter what we do, if we go out to this group of people who've been head an NOV with, and we say, hey, we'll open another round of bids to do it this year, because we didn't have a budgeted maximum, we're gonna have too many people for that budgeted maximum, so now we just create a bigger problem financially.
And we do always add, and I have to look where this year's add-ons were, unreimbursable sidewalk. We've,
would it lower the
as
price?
Greg and I have been out and about, there's a few sections at the Berkshire Heights Playground that we're gonna do through the program. Allen Snowbridge, review, we're re-owned, there's a couple blocks up there. Maybe one other area.
The 50/50, does it only cover the squares that are damaged by street
Yes.
trees?
No.
Or it'll
Well,
cover
yeah.
anything that
No.
stands
Yeah, it
out?
is.
No, we prioritize those that were.
If I've already gone out and people just had old sidewalk that was crumbling but wasn't really a tripping hazard, and I said, no, this is,
The thought of the 50/50 was because the borough planted a tree, we're gonna
Right.
try to help you out a little bit.
Right.
But if your sidewalk is deteriorating to the point that,
right,
Just old age?
just old age, I've told people, no, it's not included.
So on that picture there, can you just take that up, put it back down again?
No.
We've never allowed that. People ask that, I said,
No.
no, gotta be new.
Why?
It'll crack.
It will crack.
Yeah, because you can't, there's no way you're gonna get that back down level, it's gonna be unsupported, it's gonna crack.
Oh, okay.
okay, so we're gonna do the 50/50 cut. So Chris, here's a question, if we tell them that they have until next 50/50, see if we get it, or see what we get, or until next October, and someone trips now and they sue the homeowner, and now the homeowner says, well, I would've fixed it, but the borough gave me this much more time to do it, do we get sued?
That's on the homeowner.
For what it's worth, when that happens, we typically get dragged into a lawsuit anyway.
So we can say you can apply for the 50/50, but if something happens in the meantime, you're on the hook.
If we have 70 people ready to go, why would we wait until October?
Well, that's,
Well,
so,
If you have people that you wanna go now, you have a legal contract with L&B, you know the unit price, and our contract's bid by unit price. If council wanted to, and the people did, you could add that to the contract. 'Cause
That's what I was getting at a
It's,
couple months ago, so why don't we just do a separate non-50/50, just a big
Well-
old, here's a group of people that need help.
it wouldn't get done till springtime, by the time you bid it, open and awarded it, you'd be in the cold of winter, and then you don't wanna pay winter conditions on sidewalk.
No.
So it would be like a March or April start, if you bid
We
it
could do a
separately now.
spring 50/50 as opposed to a fall 50/50.
Right, you could put it out to bid, say in November, December, opening in February, when, tell them you want it done by, put in the contract whenever council wants it done by, June, July, whatever.
I'm okay with that.
I like,
Everybody else okay with that? We'll do the 50/50 earlier. And we gotta, how many people was this on this list? I didn't count them, rough.
I just counted 19.
That's 19, and it's only how many blocks?
Stopped, right? Didn't you stop?
only as about a week ago.
So there, but that's only through the 30th, so there's an extra
Correct.
10 days for.
But does it make sense that the borough could say to go out and set up, notify the residents of the borough? Whether you have one or not, if you think you do, we're gonna go out and bid this whole thing out. You might wanna jump on the bandwagon when we can get one company to start looking at all this. And yeah, maybe it'll take them 2 years to get to it all, but at least we have it under contract and they're gonna get it done. Sort of like we're talking about, some people don't do their curbs through the contract, you have to skip a section, all that kind of stuff. If we could get a contractor and say, we're not just doing our 50/50 work, we're gonna do this other work, it's gotta be less expensive than everybody going out and getting ones off, but everybody knows somebody who will do their cement work for free, I know that, I get it.
What usually happens is whoever does our 50/50 contract, the homeowners end up cutting like a separate deal with them to do the rest of their sidewalk if they want it done.
Yeah.
It's not in our contract, we don't direct it.
All right, well, we're not gonna fry this fish today, but we'll extend the 50/50, I think, is what we're recommending to council, is that a fair statement?
yes, have it in the spring instead of.
And we'll have it in the spring instead of the fall.
So what-
And the notice of violations, as long as we're not legally obligated now, if they get some trips and falls in the next 6 months.
Well, as Michelle said, we're likely to be paid as a defendant, we've always got knowledge.
Just for 2025.
So then what should
And
we
it's
tell
gonna
them,
be
that
budgeted
we're
for
going to
them.
enforce the beginning of June?
They're gonna have to budget
Is that
that
about
out.
right?
You're still-
But I think we need to give them.
I'd say
Well,
August
if they
1st.
don't apply for the 50/50 program, then pursue it.
Yeah, then we'll continue enforcement action.
That sounds
That's even more than the time should be.
So what about the Herbines? You just had it fixed.
I think we would,
I think they should get to a point in.
yeah,
Yeah. You wanna have, an incentive to fix it.
Right. But she's saying it'll happen again if they don't take the tree down.
They should be, informed, despite the fact that we're giving them an extension, they're still liable.
Listen, we're not gonna kill all the
Or-
trees in this borough, so it's gonna continue, there's gonna be a continual problem. Let's do the 50/50 project, Andrew. Let's do it in the spring, tell them to apply, and if by next, whatever time we think the 50/50 will be over, if they haven't done it, and they've got an NOV now, they'll get fined. Agreed?
Yeah.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
Everybody else okay with that?
That's good.
Get that one.
Follow up
That's
on our
probably,
NRV.
probably not a bad idea.
Dauphin Avenue,
No new updates there.
well, we talked about street work there on Dauphin Avenue. This is a motion to the table approved, deny committee, borough administration options for performing street work on Dauphin Avenue.
Yeah, that's,
Table
it's
it,
kind of
that's
just
one.
standing.
Sorry, go. Cambridge Avenue culvert, anything new there?
Nope.
Go. Admin and police department needs study,
I was gonna defer to one of the three of you to give an update unless you would like
go
to.
ahead, Bill.
And I forgot my numbers and figures with me. We met last week to, discuss what our new options are. There's a LOI for 1235 Penn Avenue. So we don't know if that's even on the table for us to consider anymore. Right now, we are considering, what our options are in the existing property.
You
And
got an idea of extending the police department out further and,
It was to do a small 3,000 square foot addition to the police department and a very small 1,000 square foot addition to Borough Hall. We would renovate, have to move off-site during that, and then move back on-site, and that was the second to most expensive option at
Yeah, it was
7.4.
yeah.
so as of now, I believe the cheapest option we have is to build a police department down there in that corner that we own already.
Yep.
What
In the front yard, in the
Yeah,
front yard.
Put a 10,000 square foot police department
Put a
down
police
there,
department in here, and then
tear down the mansion and add
it would be
thousands.
tearing this mansion down, and then the
Square feet.
admin would move to the police department with some changes.
That's about 5.4 million.
Now, we have a grant we're applying for. We have
We have
some money.
multiple grants
We have
that we're
multiple
applying
grants we're
for.
applying for, which I don't know that we're gonna be doing this in the next couple of weeks.
Couldn't you make the new building enough for everything?
So
well, that's the other option.
Yeah. we
that's
wasn't
about
gonna
$1
put it
million
on.
more.
A two-story building in the front yard, demo all this and sell this property.
I favor all new construction, it's just, it's a can of
Think that-
worms going forward, let somebody
What,
else deal with it.
No, I mean, it's about $1 million more to do that.
Yeah.
Have we,
It's nothing.
have we gone to, a realtor and asked what's currently available?
I mean,
Because it seems like we were talking like 3 to 4 million.
I think every commercial realtor in Berks County knows that we're looking. I mean,
Well, I
we've
just-
been
I
doing
just-
this for a long time.
Well, I can't believe that 1235 Penn Avenue is the only option.
I've driven around, I can't find anything else that's suitable for us.
I mean, John Buccino, I have asked him for 18 months now to keep an eye out if anything in the borough opens that is ideal, and he's not said anything recently, and I'm not aware of anything else that's available that actually makes sense. And I think you're still looking at comparable cost. I mean, what is now Jim's building when it was the Stratix building? All in, we were around 5.5 million. Cost estimate for Penn Avenue to buy and renovate is about the same. It was, I think, 200,000 less than the cheapest option to stay here. So they're all within the same ballpark. I think that's part of, I thought that's part of what you were considering as the subcommittee is why not stay where we're at if we can, and
Well, we
the
have
price
land
is
to use.
relatively the same.
We have land to use, if we, no matter what you did, you can make the construction, we don't have to move people out. So we don't have to pay someone rent to go
Somewhere
be
else.
in their location for a while. And then when that is open, we can just move all the equipment that we need to move over to that building in whatever form or fashion that we do.
For all the places we've looked, our problem hasn't been we can't find anything. We don't wanna spend the money, and then when we don't spend the money to buy the one of the 5 we saw, we come back to up here, and we're now about to spend the same money that we would have spent if we just went to one of the places.
Unless we bought the building across the street 20 years ago, 15 years ago, we wouldn't have this problem.
Well, it was 4 million, now we're spending 5
No,
years. It was
no,
4
that
million,
was-
wasn't it?
We,
When they offered
when
it
this
to
was,
us?
that was 495.
Yeah, no, I mean, just recently, they offered it to us for 4 million, and then Stratus offered their building to us for 3 million, and then you offered your building for.
That was the
3
same building.
Same
Stratus
million.
building.
Right, okay, well, then the other building that's over there, so I mean, now we have Great Motoring's offering us a building too. So all these.
You're out
Land for
land.
Right,
Yeah.
right, but it's land plus building.
But
So
why,
I think
if we're gonna build something, we got land to build right there. We
That's
own
right.
it, right in the middle. of
Over
town.
there, we gotta tear it down.
I know, but at the end of the day, we're spending the same amount of money, whatever we do.
So why not stay here?
Because the number of people that will be driving us nuts about tearing this building down and putting it in the front yard. And if it looks like the Borough Garage as opposed to this building, it will look like crap
Now,
compared to
why
what.
do you say stuff like that?
Because that's what I think people are gonna say to me, so I'm gonna say it to you.
Can't you, why
Well,
don't you just
it
say?
cost an extra 2 million to renovate this building, and that's on
And
the
that's-
lower,
and
that's
that's
for
just-
nothing. That's for nothing.
Yeah, and that's before we open up the walls and see what's
I
inside.
agree, I'm not arguing, I just say, put it in the yard out front, so you can always say, I'm buying this building above.
Guys,
You know,
keep under control.
What we've decided on, you know, the best thing would be build a 2-story building down there. And then once that's completed, then we all move, then we don't have to worry about anything else, okay? We're not talking substantially that much more money, okay, with all the grants and everything involved.
All the grants we don't have yet.
Right, and that we're keeping our fingers that we do, you know. But you know, it's estimated we can get $760 for this property,
Somewhere between 600 and 700.
okay?
How much parking would we get down there?
If we did the 2-story, we
You'd
talked.
wrap all around the building.
We talked about that, like he currently just has parking on both sides and we would want it all the way almost like a horseshoe around the south, no, that would be north, east and west sides. And then you have access kind of to both Fairview and Reading.
It's big enough, right? You know how many spaces he's talking?
Without the addition of the north side, there were a decent amount. I'll send you the updated
Yeah, send
report,
the
but it's the
report.
same one you saw.
Well, wasn't there,
What's your thoughts, John?
can the cars
Well,
be
I'm
parked?
worried about parking.
You're still getting your overhang, don't worry.
Well, I mean, I'm worried about parking for all my vehicles plus then everybody coming to the borough. This garage up here, I utilize. The fire company's been asking for years about getting my truck out of there that I have. And that was supposed to go down at the borough garage, but as part of the cutback, that was taken away. So I'm trying to, I don't wanna lose my garage up here then, because nothing was built over there that I could put something there. So I think parking is one of the biggest things around here, and to lose this lot, if we could still take advantage of that, I think it's something we should consider. I mean, I don't have the ultimate say, but
If we're elevating the building, like you're talking about, due to, can we get cars underneath it?
No, that's expensive.
Well,
That's
with,
really.
That's gonna be about $42,000 a parking space.
with option A, well, if we did a 2-story down there and did not sell off the back end, we had all this additional parking along.
right, that's what
Yeah.
I think
So,
We could do that, yeah.
that's what when we were talking about trying to get that million down, it was like, well, what if we sold off the back? But if we don't, we have plenty of parking.
I mean, with the library.
Listen,
right
we're not,
across the
I don't
street.
think we're gonna do this today either, because we're not
No.
voting on anything to take to council. But if we're building a 2-story building down there, what are we gonna do with this one? Just keep it here to put more books in?
No, you tear it all down.
So we'll tear it
Everything's
down,
tearing down, and we've
then
got
leave John's
parking.
garage?
Yeah.
Is
we own that garage or do we rent that?
We own it.
I thought it was part of it.
Okay,
I'm sure you can add a garage down
is that?
I'm sure you can add a detached garage.
I'm sure we could figure something out, yeah. So to answer your question, John, we'll get enough, if we do it, we'll get enough
I'm just
parking
wondering
for
about
you.
space down there.
And now we've got to add a detached garage. That's what, 600 square feet?
What's that?
How many square feet is that thing?
Make a garage.
But it's not big enough for a truck, so
600?
that's why I have
That's
to
right.
park up there.
Maybe, max.
We
For
also.
my 2 cents, I'm not in favor of any kind of renovation anywhere. Just build what you
Yeah.
need and move into
I
it.
agree.
And if you need to build a 3rd story on there for 50 years from now, then you have it.
We also discussed and, you know, what the borough residents are gonna feel about this, you know, and there needs to be some education on this with some town hall meetings, with charts and so forth and so on, which we all would be planning to do.
Which we are now putting the cart before the horse, because we got to find out if we're getting some of these grants
Right.
and all that other good stuff.
Yeah, we need to see if we're getting the grant money that we've applied for. We can't do anything more until we know that. So that's where we stand.
And how much is that?
We have a combined total of 6 million we're asking for between 2 different pots of money with another to come. So,
And the one pot,
There we go.
the governor hasn't even addressed yet.
I had a conversation with Kathy Bruder last week that I'm not gonna go into detail in a public meeting, but let's just say she's strategizing, so.
Okay, good. No, that's what we pay her for.
Okay.
So
Anything else?
progress.
Anything else in the admin of police departments that it needs? We know that we can't just throw an extension on the building here is what we found out. So when that comes to public, when the people who don't read the minutes or watch the video to say that we've been killing this thing, we've killed it. We can't expand it and it's more expensive to add on and add on.
Is there anything to be said to having an idea that we put out so that people that want to argue about what we do here have some idea what a concept would look like in the front, so they have some idea whether they
Yeah,
like
if we got to the next point, we would have some artist drawings of what the building would look like and the reasons we're doing it.
Town hall.
Yeah. Oh, and we wanna find out how much money's available first.
Yeah. Okay, we good with that? Public Works Garage, we got a lot of payments to do here. And I'm not voting on any of them. All right, Public Works Garage, we have payment number 10 for Bolton's Construction has been received. Okay, we need a motion to pay application number 10 to Bolton Construction for $149,823.46. Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I have to abstain due to my employment with Tompkins. Payment application number 4 to Guard Spot Electric has been received, the amount of $35,000. We need a motion to approve that application. There's been a motion and a second to pay Guard Spot Electric $35,104.26. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I abstain. Payment application number 4 to Accelerated Fire Protection, Inc. We need a motion to recommend to council for payment to that number in the amount of $2,250.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I abstain. We have payment application number 4 from A.H. Moyer in the amount of $25,965 even for payment application number 4. So moved. Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? I abstain. Payment application number 5 from A.H. Moyer Plumbing has been received in the amount of $23,049.00, and we need a motion to recommend to council for payment application number 5.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Any opposed? I abstain. The ayes have it. How's it going over there, Jim?
Good.
Coming over to visit it, that was nice.
Yeah, no, it's, we still hope to be moving in last week of September, first week of October. We actually have electric in the building now, we have running water in the building now. It's starting to look like a finished product, getting close.
Jeez, Lord.
I'm sorry, I thought I heard a question. Okay. How much salt you gonna buy?
We
Good Lord, that's big.
we have some salt from last year yet, we're gonna be purchasing some more salt, but not a lot, before the winter season.
Well, we should have no reason ever to run out
No.
for storage capacity anymore. Okay. All right, the Stonehouse Park project, payment application number 2 to Construction Master Services LLC has been received in the amount of $210,917.70, and I'll make the recommendation that we make the council to recommend paying application number 2.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Then they doing a parkland study.
We got the final report. Jim, Greg, and I met last week, to put our thoughts on prioritizing the recommendations in there together. That is going to be presented to the Park and Shade Commission next week. I did share it with Jen in advance, and she chairs that commission. And we put about 10,000 in the draft budget to implement those priorities.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Lead rule update, anything new?
We're gonna be doing a trial submission sometime in the next few weeks. NTEC, who's helping us with this project, now is concerned about the DEP website crashing on there's a cutoff day when we need to be submitted in October. And everybody submitting at the same time might be causing some issues, or so they've been told. So I think we're gonna try to submit ours early. Nothing else has really changed. We still have 800 plus or minus properties that we don't know what their service line material is. And they'll be getting letters saying we don't know. And it mentions lead in the letter, which will generate a lot of phone calls.
Yes, it will.
Can't they just test the water?
It's not that simple. I wish it was.
You
You
would
have to
think.
verify from the curb stop into the house 2 times what the pipe type is, and out in the street 2 times what the pipe type is. And on some properties, it's hard to get that much information without actually digging holes. You try to do whatever you can without digging holes, but when we do that, there's still 800 properties we don't really know.
Wouldn't a reasonable person figure out that if you dug up 1 in 20 and figured out what it was, the other 20 in the neighborhood had the same kind of pipe size?
Statistical analysis, yes. You would think a reasonable person would accept that, but it's not reasonable people.
Who's the government?
Reason.
Hey, put your mouth over there.
Reasonable.
What is
Okay. So my hunch is once this rubber hits the road, the government's gonna say, whoa,
Yeah.
you're gonna have people screaming at
Yeah.
the government saying you're digging up my yard to see that I have no lead in my water, I gotta test it, why are we doing it?
And they'll
But
say
we gotta follow the rules that we got.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything new to discuss about the split rail fence?
That is effectively tabled
Tabled.
until
Yep.
Park and Shade.
Okay. And then, the meeting out on Wyomissing Boulevard in front, I know the Girl Scouts were gonna give us some kind of idea, looks like they're gonna do it sometime this month.
They're meeting this month,
month,
and then they'll be back, I would assume, at the October meeting.
Okay. I do wanna make sure that we're pretty clear, that it's not so much the flowers that were the problem. It was the cars running over the flowers that was the problem. I don't care if they need water or not, if they get run over, they're gonna be.
The problem
That all
there,
being said, I agree with everybody that it's ugly. We gotta do something nicer. I agree with that.
Well, I thought our other problem was when you go to the Girl Scouts. If you gave them the right to do it, you'd have to provide legal details.
No, we discussed that in relatively deep detail and that's a little bit of anxiety.
Is it my understanding that
I didn't
this
say
is,
it.
Yes, you did. You just said run over the
No,
Girl Scouts.
somebody
You
else
just
said
it.
that, the safety issue of having them do
we
that.
did, but we
Safety
talked
issue
about-
was addressed, and if we would go through with it, there would be a proper time and proper protection for that.
Okay.
We discussed this Sunday evening, I believe is what we
Yes.
discussed.
Is it my understanding that 2 things? One, underneath of that little penetrating strip, the macadam goes straight across, so there's really no depth for that much soil, which is why things are done. And secondly, are we just doing this sort of agreeable, ugly, half-assed situation because we're waiting for the whole PennDOT thing, and why invest a bunch of money into making it prettier if PennDOT's gonna
Yes.
say, hey, we're gonna do this?
Yeah, and the curb needs to be replaced too, so.
Right, but,
All
you
that.
know,
But
yeah.
decorative
Okay,
stone.
so we don't wanna invest a whole bunch of money into it until we know what they're gonna do, because they're gonna have the final say.
Well, it'd be helpful if we had some idea of what a whole bunch of money is.
Well, the thing is, remember, you know, that's phase 3.
Right,
So we're not even gonna, at least 3 years, at least. I think it's gonna be more.
I agree. So
You know.
a whole bunch of money, how much is a whole bunch of money to fix the curb and put dirt in there? Can't be a whole bunch of money. I don't know what a whole bunch is. What's a whole bunch? I don't know. What's a whole bunch of money to fix the curb?
A whole bunch of money that really weren't budgeted.
Well, I know, but what's a whole bunch?
Budget $100 a foot.
More money than you can jump over. What's that?
It's more money than you can jump over.
Jim just said budget
Budget
$100
$100
a
a
foot.
foot for
What's
curb, budget $100 a foot for curb
How many
removal and
feet is
replacement.
that? How many feet?
Well, and the other thing too is.
And that's just curb.
That's
It
just
really
curb.
it shouldn't even be there, that little strip.
Well, it's been there for 200 years, so we can't change it.
Okay.
At least,
Well, it's been there since the borough's been there.
Not in that configuration. The amount of traffic has not been here.
Alright, so we're waiting to see the Girl Scouts rendition, we'll figure something out from there, I think everybody's in agreement, it's a little ugly, we'll fix it somehow, some way, and for what I would call a reasonable price, whatever that may be. We'll determine that at budget time. Good. Anything else? Okay. Make a motion to adjourn.